The police are out in the streets, but this time it's
The North African nation of Tunisia is under a state of emergency.
Watching a crowd carrying banners reading, "Yes, we can," using tear gas and then live rounds to disperse them. It was enough to bring
Estimate
down
at least 23 people have died, but opposition leaders say that number is higher. Demonstrators are protesting skyrocketing.
Date, December 17th, 7 years ago, when a young man from a small town in Tunisia pulled the trigger, set off one of the greatest revolutions of our times, the Arab Spring. Mohammed Bouazizi, who worked as a local fruit vendor to provide for his mother and only siblings, was on this morning in confrontation with the lady from the local town council. Vile tu kanjo uhandana. And upon confrontation, this lady took his weight measuring scale. That's something he needed for work. So naturally, Mohammed tried to speak up for himself. Jaribu kujitetea tu. And the lady slapped him, put him to shame. Of all the humiliation that life could throw to him as a young man trying to earn his 1,000 shillings a day, or even less, this was the last of it all. After trying in vain to get the scale back, Mohammed Bouazizi walked to a petrol station, bought some petrol, stood in the middle of the street, right in front of the government offices. Nika kusimama tu mbele ya ofisi za kanjo. Stood there. How do you expect me to make a living? He asked. And in a terrible act of self-mortification, Mohammed Bouazizi set himself on fire.
I think in our own small ways we each kill ourselves every day out of humiliation. Kwani kambaya mbaya. And this story resonated with hundreds of thousands of youth spread across Arabian countries. It spoke to a sense of desperation within them. See, they were not just tired of leaders treating their countries like a pair of expensive shoes, which you never want to let go, even though they do not fit you. No, it went deeper than that. What can be more frustrating than being exposed to and learning everything you can achieve as a young man in the 21st century, only to realize that that just looks good on paper? The more I speak about this, the more it feels like deja vu. Tumebeba ufala. Something is wrong with our country, and I know you can feel it. We all feel it, but tuna maintain too. All I say is this: when people in a country think that the local government and the economic system is out for their own good, then there's little desire to protest. On this first episode of Jijenge, we are basing everything on one statement, which we can prove. The system has been set up intentionally not to work for us, and so we need to work for ourselves. Kujijenga. My name is Steve Ataro, and this is Jijenge.
Show ya maana inahimiza kujijenga, kani kusema itabidi pia tumetenda. Rapping your hood, we are coming with something good, setting the mood that's sure to motivate the youth. So get ready, we are about to inspire you to aim high and do what is required to. Kukuwa boss, engineer, kucheza ball, kuchora, kuimba, that and on and all. Anza saa hii, stand tall, go for your dreams. Amka changamka tugutuke quick. Shoni jijenge bro, shoni jijenge seize. Si basi tujijenge please. Jijenge. Jijenge.
50,000 graduates every year, and of these, half are suited for employment. Of this same half, another half are not suited to their career choice. Hao wengine ni shida yao. And that's life for us as Kenyans. Imagine this: a meal prepared by the best chef in the world, the perfect ingredients and flavor sourced from all over the world, and then someone comes and takes this meal, places it on the shelf, and it sits there hoping someone will pass by, realize its potential, and eat it. The youth in Kenya today are the meal. Our schools, institutions, cultural structures, and various other institutions are the chefs, flavoring us with spices of information that helps us interpret the world. Then someone comes and places us on the shelf. We form 35%, over 35% by the way of the population, and over 67% of us are unemployed. If that's not a recipe for disaster, I do not know what is. Shida tupu.
You might graduate like 10,000 people in your field, like let's say media. You graduate 10,000 people, and the jobs that are out there in the market, they're only 1,000. Where will the 9,000 go? Not all the citizens of Kenya are being affected by current ongoings. There are some who are actually benefiting. And when you're in a place, when you're in a state of benefiting from someone else's suffering, you don't want to leave that place, because when you know when that person who's suffering gets the upper hand, they will take retribution on you.
You know, I mean, so many things are happening. Crime. See, the other day in Isili, guys are being killed. Young people, 16 years, 18, 22. It's unfortunate. And all these things span around the issue of unemployment. Once we sort out the unemployment issue, then we sort out social crimes and social vices around our society.
Eventually, I don't think it's just a question of the youth. It's anyone who is desperate and for a sustained, prolonged time, they will find a way of venting out. And is it not happening in Kenya? You ask yourself, why would people go form, gangs and so forth? And we are familiar with those gangs. It's all in a way of people trying to make a living, a decent living.
The best way to predict your chances of success is by looking at the person you copied your work from. Na kama ujamani kuanguka na anguka, well, I have news for you. Most, if not all of our systems in Kenya are modeled from the West, as it is in most third world countries. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because in every race, we must have a pace setter. However, what happens when you realize that something is wrong with the pace setter? He is on a self-destruct mode. Kenya calls itself a capitalist economy, bounded and shielded under the principles of democracy. All principles that are from, yeah, you guessed it, the West. And though capitalism was founded on principles that evened out the playing ground, the US has seen the system being corrupted into a system that makes the rich grow richer and poor grow poorer. Ding, ding, bell ring right there. Sounds familiar, right?
We have billionaires, dollar billionaires, you see, and you have people living in slums who literally have nothing. You see, and you might argue that these dollar billionaires have worked hard, but really everyone, if you sit down and think, everyone really, or most people, or let me say a lot of people really work hard. It's more, so poverty is not really as a result of not working hard. It's more of the failed systems that we have. So the reality is, unless the citizens themselves actually organize a revolution, things will never change.
Did you know that the mineral wealth in this continent is much higher than anywhere else? Talk of DRC Congo. The mineral wealth, the per capita mineral wealth in that country is higher than any other country in the whole globe. So Africa is not poor at all. I think we have lacked some planning issues. In it, you have some leadership issues and so forth. We have had people who have hung on to power for far too long, and I think they largely have nothing else to offer, and so forth. And you wish that professionals can be incorporated in thinking, how can we propel the country?
Ngori. Tricky situation to find ourselves in. However, in every seemingly difficult or impossible situation, na ule jamaa moja tu that decides not to bend over and let things be. This is a person who has decided to invest time in doing what he knows best, how he sees it fit. The modern Mau Mau. A guy who has taken time to analyze and study this giant we call the system, na akajua, I can beat you. Note to self. Beating the system has little to do with controlling what is around you, but more to do with what is inside you. It starts there.
I don't think it's really about lack of jobs. It's about the youths not wanting, or maybe you can call it ignorance, or not opening their eyes to see that they can actually make a decent living and impact the society in a positive way using agriculture. Yeah. So the lack of jobs is mostly due to ignorance. Number two, the desire to get white-collar jobs. You don't want to get dirty, your hands dirty. You don't want to tell your friends that you're a farmer. You want to tell them you're an engineer or a CEO or a manager somewhere. I was working on an 8-to-5 job as a quality control or clerk of works, mixed together in a company that does flexible packaging. So I gave them a notice and resigned because, first of all, I was not very fulfilled. Number two, I was not utilizing my skills as a biochemist. So I wanted to do yogurt, I wanted to farm, so I decided to quit. Hydroponics is two terms joined together. There is the hydro, which means water, and ponics, which means working. So you're working with water in the absence of soil. So that means you grow plants without soil, but water is the main media of growth. And as you can see before me here, there are these vegetables that are growing on rocks. The advantage of using hydroponics over traditional farming, number one, is the water efficiency. In hydroponics, you use like 20% of the water that you will have used in the traditional farming. For example, like to produce 1 kg of fodder, you need 1.5 liters of water because you are recycling the water. If it was the traditional fodder farming in the soil, once you irrigate your crop, you cannot harvest that water back. So you find you're using around 90 liters of water just to get 1 kg. Agriculture is profitable. Agriculture has a lot of potential. It's a whole value chain. Say you harvest this sukuma wiki, you can do a lot of things with the sukuma wiki, with the spinach, with the livestock sector, milk, you can make cheese, so let us develop our skills, let us learn new ways of doing things, and let us know that agriculture actually pays. Yeah, so agribusiness is a business like any other, and so you need to focus your energy and your skills just like you will do with any other business. Yes, yeah, karibu. Yeah.
This is not a call to rebellion, street protest, or mass action, but a call to pay attention to some of the things we disregard: personal responsibility and accountability. And yes, you may be a drop in the ocean, but so am I, and so is everyone else, and we unite to form an ocean. It may be time to work for ourselves. This is Jijenge.
Well, all this information, fact-finding, and self-reflection felt a bit heavy on my shoulders. So, I thought to myself, why not bring other minds into the discussion? But while at it, have some fun. A little edutainment never hurt anyone, and there was nowhere else to do it better than at Ocean Soul. So, what is Ocean Soul? To answer this question, I would ask you a question in return. What happens to your flip-flops or slippers after you outgrow them or wear them out? Well, you might just want to check the East African coast waterways and beaches killing marine life. Solid waste is an unfortunate legacy of this age. I mean, just think about it. How long do you think of something after throwing it away? It strangely disappears from our minds, and in this case, into Ocean Soul's workshop. They're taking care of our own mess for us. Oh, aren't we lucky?
Well, I mean, our main purpose is, and I would say the ethos of the company up until end of last year, was really focusing on discarded flip-flops that came from the ocean. And I think one thing that's really important for everybody to know, because people think, they're on a boat and they've lost one flip-flop, or they think, they've, it broke and they threw it away. Over 3 billion people in the world, the only shoe they can afford is a flip-flop or a slipper. And so, especially in the emerging hot economies, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, obviously parts of Africa, that is the only shoe that they have. And so eventually those people have to get rid of that shoe because they break down, they disintegrate, and they throw them into dump sites. As you know, in Addis, just 2 weeks ago, we had a major garbage landslide. You heard around the rains put together. Well, 60% of the debris in that overall landslide was rubber or flip-flop.
On getting into the workshop, one of the things we noticed right away are the men and women hard at work and enjoying it. Definitely a glimmer of hope in a country with the highest unemployment rate in the East African region.
We have a whole ecosystem where we purchase flip-flops. So we work with the communities. We've got over 700 people in our ecosystem, if you will, by the time you look at who's getting paid in terms of cleaning up the beaches, cleaning up the waterways, transportation, who's employed here, casual labor that we use, things like that. That ends up being, about 700 people that we impact and feed, if you will.
Ocean Soul has a simple but efficient process of turning rubber waste into art, and we made sure to get ourselves in the mix. From washing, tracing, punching, binding, and even carving. And honestly, it wasn't as easy as it looked.
So unakata tu hivi hadi tokane yote.
Even with clear instructions on where exactly I needed to cut, it still wasn't easy, but to my instructor, piece of cake.
Oh. Hapa.
though he assured me I would be a natural in days.
Ni hippopotamus ama nini?
Well, I think he was just being nice. In all the learning and goofing around, I did spend some time with the panel, just talking, facing our own issues. And while some may see no sense in this, James Baldwin clears it out quite well. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced.
Just to kick us off on this discussion, statistics up to last year show that Kenya has the highest rate of unemployment in the region compared to Uganda, Tanzania and other East African countries. And keeping in mind the resources that we have as a country and the potential we have as youth, what's your take on this? Mnafilaje juu sisi tumelead kwa history ya unemployment? Vic maybe.
I believe we have the resources as a country, that's for sure. But the education system that we have, I encourage you to say wafikirie outside the confinements of an 8-to-5 job. So you'll find someone has skills of doing other things, but for them, their mindset is set on, to make it, I must have an 8-to-5 job. So they don't think of how they can sharpen their skills outside being employed. And that's why unaona, if you sit with a lot of young people, unamuuliza, what can you do? Msana nakwambia, well, I used to paint. There are people that are selling their paintings for $1 million here in Kenya.
So let me get
Victor quickly picks out a viewed characteristic of this generation: a false sense of security in white-collar jobs, or 8-to-5 jobs as he puts it. So right away I hit the streets to try and get a broader perspective on this.
Shida, mtu anaona amesoma sana, akionekana kama anaweza fanya hii kazi ya mikono jua kali, tunaita jua kali. Anaona wenzake wanapita hapa na magari kama watu kama hao wanapita hapa, anajidharau. Anaona hawezi kufunguliwa na Mungu. Lakini ukiweka Mungu mbele, hata uwe na masomo. Kuna wengine wako university na wako chini na wanafanya watchman na wajidharau. Lakini siku hizi unaweza kupata mkijana anasema niko na birth certificate yangu ya shule na nimepata kireti hii, siwezi enda shule, siwezi fanya jua kali.
If you give me 100 acres of land, I would probably put up apartments and rent them out so that I get income. Yeah.
Why not farming?
Because I feel like it's not something that comes to my mind immediately, but also I think urbanization is something that's growing. So I would most definitely think of apartments and not farming.
Mimi ile kazi mimi nafanyanga kazi yoyote. Hata ungeniambia nikusaidie mzigo wako nikubebe ningeibeba. Gari kikwama hapa naweza isukuma. Hii chumi kianguka nachukua naenda nauza. Ni bora tu najisaidia kivyangu kimai.
For me personally siwezi sema wanadharau. The reason why watu wengi wanakimbilia ya formal, it's because wanapata ile basic needs, yani salary yenye wanatakanga. Compared na formal, ni ile uwezi kuwa sure that maybe at the end of the month utapata kitu yenye utafanya nini itakusupport in life. So most of the time mtu nakimbilia upate kazi ofisi.
I think it's very frustrating because we are set to think that education will open all the doors for us. So you go to school.
It's like a road deal.
Yes, yes. So you work hard, expecting that once I leave school, I'll get a good position in the office. Some even go ahead and they go abroad and they do masters, and when they come here, they expect to be paid a 6-figure salary. So to some extent, it's the mindset. It's our mindset, just as you say. We think that the government owes us. We think that the world needs to appreciate what we've studied for. But that's not how things work. Things work, are you willing to start from somewhere? Because some of us don't have jobs because we think with the level of education we have, we can't do certain things.
Moses helped me understand the issues the youth face today may run deeper than we think. Clashes in Laikipia have turned him from a proud pastoralist to a security guard in Nairobi. He feels humiliated.
Lakini mimi hajasoma kulingana na shida na vita ile iko kwetu. Sasa amekuwa sasa ile kitu iko shida mingi hero. Ndio amefanya mimi anakuja kufanya kazi Nairobi.
Moses belongs to a group of youth in Kenya who have been forced into odd jobs by circumstances beyond their control. Humiliation is the new rite of passage.
Do you think there is potential for youth in Kenya to become so frustrated, yani, if you can point in it, I feel that we need to take affirmative action in removing those in power because they're not doing anything?
Like if you take the example of this ruling regime, the Jijenge government, when they were campaigning, their manifesto was that they want to create 1 million jobs annually, which is very far from the truth. Because you find like with the proliferation of the university, you find that universities are churning like 60,000 graduates every year, but there are no jobs. Because you find that areas like the manufacturing industries, which is supposed to get jobs, they are underutilized. Then you gave the example of Patrick Gideon, the guy who had graduated with BCom and the other CPA Section 4. It's not an isolation. Because recently there was also a story that went viral about some guy called Daniel Kariuki, who had graduated with biotechnology from Jobless. And actually he had scored a first class honors.
Without a job.
Yeah, he's jobless. He spends his days at the Urupa.
So do you think like the frustrations that we have, Sai, have the potential of pushing us into a revolution?
It can. It can, because
this discussion went deep into the hour with disagreements on various things. But one thing we seemed to agree on is the fact that we as young people have a responsibility to take control of our own future.
I think Bob Marley's song, I can't remember which one, and he says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but yourself can free the mind. I think it's the same thing for us young people. Let us come out of that box. Let's try and explore. Let fear not drive us. Let's work towards empowering each other. We hold so much power.
Noma. Sadly, the show has come to an end, and I choose it to end it with my partner in Jijenge, Anto. Fiti sana brother. So unemployment is an issue we both hold close to our hearts. Because you may not know this, but during the making of this first episode, we were both unemployed.
Jobless.
Yes. Hence the name Jobless Corner.
Na ni honor ku represent the youth kwenye base in ways that we who feel it know it.
See funny, not at all. To work hard, study and graduate ndio tuom bench.
Muhimu ndo bench si hate.
Crucial to have that balance or imbalance between the haves and the have-nots.
My thoughts, sote tuko equal, some more than others.
Wengine who earn bila kuwork
na wengine who work bila ku-earn. Balance muhimu.
Na si funny, serious times.
Election period.
Where ahadi sio deni, period.
And the more things seem to change, the more they remain the same. Game ni serious, but bado ni game.
Fame kwa ma players, pain kwa ma fans. Fun to them, shame to us.
Kazi ni kubandika posters, kuchocha voters na kuzozana, yet tumesoma. Si fun.
My youth could tweet wakidoze home, dreaming of change.
Change gani? Labda ya mboga.
Yes, uoga nyuma ya Facebook, Twitter na Instagram crams us into a book of fools, na hivyo ndio wanatuita.
Tukipita pale Parliament Road, streets of gold where we are told no pictures allowed.
So we crowd pale archives opposite Jobless corner tukihope that one day country itapona. Si funny baby. Hey. Opponents.
But ndatoboa, si ndio? Hayo. Teza, twende.
Let's do this. This place is in a place called Karen Village, a few kilometers from Karen Center. Msicheke by the way.
And flavor sourced from all over the world. And someone takes this meal and places it on the shelf somewhere. Maji.
Check it out, show ni Jijenge with me, Steve Ataro. Leo tunaongea story za Valentines. Yeah, kesho kuna watu wanaenda broke.
Ngori. Tricky. Manze tukati umezwala.
Hivyo ndio wanatuita.
Tukipita pale Parliament Road, streets of gold where we are told usipige picha.
So we crowd.
Wow. If that's not a recipe for disaster, I do not know what is. Shida tupu. Cut.